You think this is a joke? This is my life you're messing with!
I'm not messing with anything. You need to calm down.
All this for one night in someone else's bed. The phone cut through the quiet at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I felt a cold certainty that everything was about to shift. Midnight hospital calls never carry good news, especially when your 19-year-old son's name is on the line. Mr. Patterson, this is Dr. Martinez at Riverside General. Your son Jake has been admitted with serious injuries. You need to come immediately. I let the wrench fall. Oil from the Chevy's undercarriage splattered onto the garage floor as I fumbled for my keys. 23 years as a mechanical engineer had shown me that when systems break, they break badly. I never imagined my family could be the system. The drive to the hospital passed in a blur of flashing lights and dread. My wife, Linda, should have been by my side, but she was stuck at the office again at the law firm. Third late night this week. At 45, her obsession with making partner had taken over, staying in the office until all hours with her boss, Richard Blackwood. I slammed through the ER doors like a man gone mad. Jake Patterson, I wheezed to the triage nurse. My son. She guided me along a sterile corridor that smelled of disinfectant and defeat. Jake was in bed 3, his left leg up in traction, his face mottled with bruises that made my stomach flip. Dad! His voice broke the way it used to when he was 12. Jesus, Jake, what happened? He looked away, then back at me with eyes that carried more than a 19-year-old should. I went home early from practice. Wanted to surprise you and Mom with my grades. A cold dread slid through me. I came in and heard sounds upstairs. Thought maybe you guys were swallowed, but your truck wasn't there, so I went up to check. The machines around his bed beeped in a steady rhythm, marking the arrival of a truth I wasn't prepared for. I found Mom with Mr. Blackwood. In your bed, Dad. In the bed that belongs to you. The sentence landed like a sledge to the chest. 22 years of marriage. 22 years of believing I knew the woman who shared my name, my house, my life. I started shouting. Jake kept going, his voice growing harder with outrage. Told him to get out. That's when the security guys appeared. Security guys? Too large. Men in suits. They said I was trespassing and had to leave. When I refused, he gestured at his leg. They hurled me down the stairs. Dad said if I told anyone, they'd finish the job. The fury that swept through me then was unlike anything I'd felt before. It began in my gut and ran through my veins like hot iron. My hands trembled as I gripped the bed rail. Where are they now? Probably still at the house. Dad, I'm sorry. I should have. You did. Nothing wrong. My voice came out calm, measured, dangerous, and totally unlike me. Kissed his forehead and left that hospital a different man than the one who'd entered. The drive home lasted 12 minutes. 12 minutes to map out what I planned to do to the people who ruined my family. My house appeared unchanged. From the street, the same white picket fence I painted last spring, the same rose bushes Linda planted for our anniversary, the same mailbox that read the Pattersons in bright blue letters. But everything felt altered now. I parked across the road and lingered in my truck, watching. The upstairs lights were on. A silver BMW belonging to Richard sat in my driveway like an obscene gesture aimed straight at my heart. I'd known Richard Blackwood for 3 years, ever since Linda joined Morrison, Blackwood, and Associates. He was everything I wasn't. Tall, polished, wealthy. He drove luxury cars and wore suits that cost more than my mortgage. I'd always Felt like a grease monkey beside him at firm parties. Now it all made sense. I opened the glove compartment and took out the .38 I'd inherited from my father. Unloaded, though they wouldn't know that sometimes the hint of violence carries more weight than the act itself. The front door stood unlocked. Of course, it did. Why would they bother to lock it? They owned everything now. My house, my wife, my pride. Voices floated down from upstairs. Linda's laugh, breathy and satisfied in a way I hadn't heard in years. The sound made my jaw clench. I took the stairs 2 at a time, my boots thudding on the hardwood. The bedroom door was ajar. They hadn't even bothered to shut it. Linda saw me first. She sat upright in my bed, the sheet pulled to her chest. Dark hair mussed her face drained when she noticed the tool in my hand. Tom, I can explain. Shut up. Richard Blackwood rolled over lazily, as if he had all the time in the world. Even caught in my bed with another man's wife, he looked arrogant. Tom, let's discuss this like civilized adults. Civilized. I laughed. It sounded cruel in the quiet room. You broke my son's leg, you piece of crap. That was a misunderstanding. Jake got violent. He's 19 years old. I stepped toward the bed and Richard finally showed a hint of fear. He reached for his phone on the nightstand. I wouldn't. I raised the tool. Where are your boys? Downstairs. Linda whispered. Tom, please let me explain. 22 years. My voice was steady. Now I see. 22 years I've been faithful to you. Worked 60-hour weeks to pay for this house, for your law school, for everything you asked for. And this is how you repay me. You don't understand, she said, tears welling. Richard and we have something special, something you and I never had. That stung more than catching them together. The casual dismissal of 2 decades of marriage reduced to something we never had. Get dressed, both of you, and get out of my house. Richard was already reaching for his pants. Tom, I think we should discuss compensation. Compensation? The word came out like a snarl. For what? For sleeping with my wife in my bed while your thugs put my son in the hospital. Now see here. I pulled the trigger and fired a round into the ceiling. Plaster rained down on the bed. Linda screamed. I said, get out. They dressed fast, stumbling over one another in their rush. Richard kept quiet now, all his polished bravado gone. Linda tried to grab her things, but I stopped her. Leave it all. You don't deserve to take anything from this house. As they moved toward the door, I called after them. This isn't over. Not even close. Richard turned, some of his arrogance creeping back now that he was dressed and heading for safety. Tom, I understand. You're upset, but if you threaten me again, I'll have to involve the police. I smiled. It must have been a dreadful thing to see, because he actually took a step back. Go ahead, call. Tell them how you and your security team attacked my son. I'm sure they'd love to hear that story. They left without saying another word. I spent the rest of the night at my kitchen table, drinking coffee and plotting. By dawn, I'd filled 3 pages of a legal pad with notes, numbers, and a timeline that would make Linda's law school instructors proud. The first call came at 7 a.m. Linda. Tom, we need to talk. No, we don't. I'm coming over to get my things. Like heck you are. It's my house too. I have rights. I laughed. Rights? You gave up your rights when you decided to sleep with your boss in our marriage bed. Don't be crude. Crude. Lady, I haven't even started being crude yet. I hung up and unplugged the phone. The second call came on my cell at 8:30. My daughter Jessica phoning from her apartment across town. Mom called me crying. She said you threatened her with a tool. Jessica was 21, a senior at the local university studying communications. She'd always been closer to Linda than to me, drawn to her mother's polish and social circles. I was just the guy who paid the bills. Your mother was in bed with her boss when your brother came home last night. Richard's security team broke Jake's leg and put him in the hospital. Silence on the other end. Jess, you still there? I don't understand. Mom wouldn't. Your mother would and did. Jake sat. Riverside General if you want to see the proof. This is insane. There has to be an explanation. There is. Your mother's a cheating hoe who chose Johnson over family. Dad, truth hurts, doesn't it? She hung up. The third call came at 10 a.m. My best friend, Mike Chen, who ran the auto shop where I'd worked weekends part-time for the past 5 years. Tom, what the heck is going on? Linda called Sarah, crying about you going crazy with a tool. Sarah was Mike's wife and Linda's closest friend. They'd been tight since college, doing girls' nights and shopping trips, and all the other things married women do when they want to pretend they're still 25. Did she mention the part where I found her screwing Richard Blackwood in my bed? Come on, man. Linda wouldn't. Why does everyone keep saying that? Linda wouldn't cheat. Linda wouldn't lie. Linda wouldn't destroy our family. Well, guess what? Linda did. All of it. Look, I'm sure there's more to the story. There is. The more is that her boyfriend's thugs put my son in the hospital. Tom, you're not thinking straight. Maybe you should talk to someone. I'm thinking perfectly straight. For the first time in years. I hung up on him too. By noon I had 6 more calls from neighbors and friends, all with the same message. Linda was telling everyone I'd lost my mind, threatened her with a tool, and was having some kind of breakdown. She was shaping the story just like the lawyer she is. That's when I decided to fight fire with fire. I drove back to the hospital to see Jake. He was sitting up, looking a bit better, but still furious as hell. How you feeling, son? Like I want to end someone. The doctors say I'll be on crutches for 6 weeks, maybe longer. We're going to make them pay for this. How? Mom's already been here crying about how you threatened her. She's got everyone believing you're the bad guy. I sank into the stiff hospital chair. Jake, I need you to tell me exactly what happened last night. Every detail. He walked me through it again. How he'd come home early from baseball practice. How he'd heard noises upstairs and gone to investigate. How he'd found them together and started yelling. How 2 men in suits had shown up and told him to leave. They said they were security consultants. Jake said the big guys looked like ex-cops or something. When he refused to leave, they grabbed him and threw him down the stairs. Then they stood over him and warned that if he told anyone what he'd seen, they'd make sure he never played baseball again. You get their names? One of them called the other Marcus. That's all he heard. I made a note. Anything else? Yeah, when they were hauling me out, I heard Mr. Blackwood on the phone. He was talking to someone about cleaning up the mess and making sure there were no loose ends. That chilled me to the bone. These weren't random security guards. This was organized. Jake, I need you to do something for me. I need you to write down everything that happened exactly as you told me. Date it, Sign it, and have a nurse witness. Your signature. Why? Because your mother is trying to make me look like the crazy one. We need documentation. After I left the hospital, I drove to my brother's place across town. Danny was a private investigator, retired from the police after 20 years. If anyone could dig up dirt on Richard Blackwood, it was him. Tom, you look like heck, he said, opening the door. Feel like it too. I told him everything. Denny listened without interrupting, jotting notes in a small pad he always carried. So, you want me to investigate Blackwood? I want you to find out everything. His business, his finances, his personal life. I want to know what he had for breakfast and how many times he takes a crap per day. Danny grinned. Now you're talking my language, but Tom, this is going to cost money. Good investigation work isn't cheap. How much? For what you're asking? Probably $5,000, maybe more. Thought about the savings account. Linda and I shared the one she probably didn't know I could access online. Do it. And Tom, be careful. If this guy's got professional security working for him, he's not just some small-time lawyer. There might be more going on here than a simple affair. That night, I sat alone in the house and did something I hadn't done in years. Opened a bottle of whiskey and drank until I felt numb. Not collapsing drunk, but drunk. Enough to dull the pain of 22 years of marriage going up in smoke. The house felt different without Linda's things. Bigger, emptier, yet somehow cleaner, like an infection had been cut out. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stop digging or you'll end up like your son. This is your only warning. I stared at the message a long time, then poured another drink. Let them come. The next morning there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Mike and two other guys from our weekly poker game, Steve Morrison and Paul Bradley. They looked uneasy, like they were handling business they didn't want. We need to talk, Mike said. I let them in and made coffee. These were men I'd known for years. Mike and I had been friends since high school. Steve was the contractor who helped me build my deck. Paul worked at the bank and had arranged my mortgage. Tom, Mike began, we're worried about you. Worried how? Sarah talked to Linda yesterday. She's scared, man. Really? Scared? She should be. That's not helping, Steve said. He was a big man, used to using his size on construction sites. Look, we all know marriage is hard. Heck, I've been divorced twice. But threatening your wife with a tool, that's gone too far. Did Linda mention why I had the tool? She said you came home drunk and went crazy when you found her working late with her boss. I laughed, but there was no real humor in it. Working late? Is that what she called it? Tom, Paul said quietly. Linda's been a solid friend to all our wives. She helped Sarah with her legal mess last year. She's helped all of us at different times. We can't just stand by and watch you destroy her. Destroy her? I stood up, feeling rage build again. She destroyed our family. She's been screwing Richard Blackwood for God knows how long. And when my son caught them, Blackwood's thugs put him in the hospital. Come on, Steve said. Linda's not like that. She's a class act. Class act who sleeps with her boss in my bed while I'm working late to pay her bills. You're not listening, Mike said, rising too. We came here as friends trying to help. But if you keep making these accusations, they aren't accusations. They're facts. Prove it. Steve challenged. I stared at the three men I'd called friends for years, guys I'd lent money to, helped move apartments with, and celebrated birthdays beside, and realized they'd already picked a side. "Get out," I said quietly. "Tom," Mike started to stand. I said, "Get out, all of you." "We're trying to help," Paul insisted. "No, you're protecting Linda because she's fooled you all, the same way she fooled me for 22 years. Steve stepped forward, using his bulk to make a point. "Maybe you should think about getting some help. Professional help." "Are you threatening me, Steve?" I replied. "I'm only saying a man who threatens his wife with a tool might not be thinking straight." That was the moment I snapped. I grabbed Steve by the collar and shoved him into the wall. Coffee mugs shattered and hit the floor. My son lay in the hospital with a broken leg because he surprised his mother cheating. Her boyfriend's security squad did that to a 19-year-old. "And you three clowns want to lecture me about thinking clearly?" Mike and Paul grabbed my arms, trying to pull me away. "Steve." "Tom, let him go. You want proof?" I shoved Steve off and pulled my phone out. "Call Jake at the hospital. Ask him what happened. Ask who broke his leg and why." "We're not calling anyone," Steve said, straightening his shirt. "We're leaving. And Tom, stay away from Linda. Stay away from our families. You're not welcome here anymore." They left without another word. I stood in my kitchen surrounded by broken mugs and the wreckage of friendships that had spanned decades. In less than 48 hours I'd lost my wife, my buddies, and my standing in the community I'd been part of for over 20 years. But I hadn't finished losing things yet. Danny called 3 days later with the first report. "Tom, you need to sit down for this." I was already seated, nursing my third cup of coffee and my second hangover of the week. "Richard Blackwood isn't just a lawyer," Danny said. "He's filthy. His firm handles business for some very shady clients. Money laundering, probably. Maybe worse." "What kind of clients?" "The kind that hire security teams who won't think twice about breaking a college kid's leg." That explained the thugs. "There's more," Danny went on. "Blackwood's been married 3 times. All 3 wives filed for divorce citing adultery. 2 of them also got restraining orders. Violent. Not exactly physical violence," Danny said, "but he uses intimidation and financial pressure to control women. His first wife wound up broke, waiting tables. His second moved out of state and won't speak about him. And the third, wife number 3, Patricia Blackwood, died in a car crash 6 months after filing for divorce. Single vehicle accident late at night. No witnesses." A chill went through me. "You think?" "I don't know anything yet," Danny said, "but I'm digging into it." "What else?" "Blackwood's got massive money problems. His firm has been losing clients fast, and there are whispers about missing funds from client accounts. Word is he's desperate. Desperate enough to marry a respected lawyer. Desperate enough to do whatever it takes to avoid prison." After Danny hung up, I sat in my kitchen and realized Linda wasn't just having an affair. She was being used. Maybe she knew it. Maybe she didn't. Either way, she'd picked Richard over her family. That afternoon I drove to Jessica's apartment. My daughter lived in a trendy complex near the university, the sort of place with a pool and a gym I'd helped pay for. She opened the door in workout clothes, looking a lot like her mother at that age. Beautiful, sure of herself, and currently looking at me like I was something to scrape off her shoe. "What do you want, Dad?" "To talk." "To talk to my daughter about what?" she snapped. "About how you've lost your mind and are stalking Mom?" I pushed past her into the apartment. It was furnished with that modern, uncomfortable-looking stuff that probably cost a small fortune. "Jess, sit down, please. I don't want any more of your conspiracy theories. Did you visit your brother in the hospital?" That stopped her. She sat on the edge of her white leather couch. "Yes." "What did he say?" "He said," she paused, confused. "He said he caught Mom with Mr. Blackwood." "But Dad, that doesn't mean—" "It means exactly what it sounds like. Your mother has been having an affair." "People make mistakes," she protested. "This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice she made every day for months, maybe years." Jessica began to cry then, the kind of crying that comes when your whole worldview collapses. "Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to ruin our family?" "I'm not ruining anything. Your mother already destroyed it. She loves you." "No, she doesn't. She hasn't loved me for years. I was just too blind to notice. I sat beside her, and for a moment she was my little girl again, the one who used to crawl into my lap after a nightmare. Jess, I know this is brutal, but you need to understand, your mother made a choice. She chose Richard Blackwood over our family. And when your brother stood up for us, Blackwood's people put him in the hospital. That's not how Mom tells it. How does she tell it? She says Jake got violent and they had to defend themselves. I pulled up the photos I'd taken at the hospital. Jake's bruises, his leg in traction, the medical report listing his injuries. Does that look like self-defense? Jessica stared at the images, drained of color. 2 grown men did that to your 19-year-old brother because he had the nerve to object to finding his mother in bed with another man. I can't believe this is happening. It is happening, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. She looked up with swollen red eyes. What are you going to do? I'm going to make them pay. Every one of them. Dad, please don't do anything crazy. Crazy. I stood and looked at her. Jess, what's crazy is that your mother is painting me as the villain. What's crazy is that my friends chose her without even hearing me. What's crazy is a man can spend his life building something good and watch it vanish because his wife wanted excitement. I walked to the door and then turned back. I love you, Jess, but you need to pick a side because sides exist now whether we want them or not. I left her crying on that expensive couch. 2 weeks later, Danny had enough evidence to bury Richard Blackwood and everyone tied to him. Bank records, photos, witness statements, and, crucially, a link between Blackwood's security team and the death of his third wife. Tom, this is bigger than we thought, Danny said, spreading files across my kitchen table. Blackwood's been using his law firm to launder money for organized crime. The security team isn't just muscle, they're enforcers. What about Patricia Blackwood? I asked. She didn't die in an accident. It was homicide. I've got a witness who saw one of Blackwood's guys tampering with her car the day before the crash. Will the witness testify? For the right price and protection? Yeah. I stared at the papers on the table. This was it. This was how I could ruin Richard Blackwood completely. There's something else, Danny said. Linda's deeper in than you think. What do you mean? She's been helping Blackwood move money through client accounts. Either she's complicit or she's being set up to take the fall. Which do you think? Based on what I've seen, she knows what she's doing. That stung more than the affair. Linda wasn't only cheating on me, she was a criminal. What's the plan? I asked. We hand everything to the FBI. Blackwood goes down for money laundering, conspiracy, and probably homicide. Linda goes down as an accomplice. The security team goes down for attack and homicide. When? I asked. I've got a meeting with the federal prosecutor tomorrow morning, Danny said. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the woman I'd married 22 years ago, the young lawyer with big ambitions and an open smile. When did she become someone who would help launder money? When did she become someone who would choose a homicider over her family? Maybe she'd always been that person and I'd been too blind to see. At 6 a.m., my phone rang. It was Linda. Tom, we need to talk. No, we don't, I said. Richard's been arrested. The FBI raided the firm. This morning. I smiled. Danny worked fast. That's too bad. They're saying he ended his ex-wife. That's insane, Tom. Richard wouldn't hurt anyone. Tell that to Jake. This is all you're doing, isn't it? You couldn't handle losing me, so you made up lies. I didn't make anything up. Your boyfriend's a criminal and a homicide ear. And based on what the FBI found, so are you. Silence on the line. Tom, I can explain. 22 years. Linda. 22 years I loved you, supported you, believed in you, and you threw it away for a man who ends people. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You're a criminal, a cheating, lying criminal who chose money and excitement over her family. If you testify against me, I'm going to do more than testify. I'll make sure everyone knows exactly who you are. I hung up. An hour later Jessica called. Dad, I just saw the news. Mr. Blackwood was arrested for homicide, among other things. And Mom, she's next. I can't believe this is real. Believe it, Dad. I'm sorry. I should have listened to you. Yes, you should have. But you chose to believe your mother's lies instead of your father's truth. I was confused. You were disloyal like your mother. That's not fair. Fair. I laughed. Jess, nothing about this is fair, but it's justice. The FBI arrested Linda 3 days later. I watched from across the street as they led her out of her temporary apartment in handcuffs. She looked diminished, smaller somehow. The confident lawyer was gone, replaced by a frightened woman facing federal charges. Local news picked up the story. Prominent attorney arrested in money laundering scheme. They ran her law school graduation photo, the one where she looked idealistic and young. Mike called that afternoon. Tom, I owe you an apology. Yes, you do. We had no idea. You had no idea because you didn't want to know. It was easier to pretend I was crazy than accept that your friend Linda was a criminal. What can I do to make this right? Nothing. You made your choice. Come on, man. We've been friends for 20 years. We were friends. Past tense. I hung up on him. Steve called an hour later with the same apology. Then Paul. Then half a dozen others who backed Linda without hearing my side. I refused to take any of their apologies. That evening Jessica came to see me. She looked like she'd cried for days. Dad, I'm so sorry. I know you are. Can you forgive me? I looked at my daughter, this beautiful young woman who'd inherited her mother's looks and, apparently, her readiness to abandon family when things got hard. I can forgive you, Jess, but I can't forget and I can't trust you. What does that mean? It means you're Linda's daughter, not mine. You made that choice the moment you took her side. I was confused. You were disloyal. There's a difference. She began crying again. I don't want to lose you too. You already lost me. The moment you chose to believe her lies over my truth, you lost me. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, but consequences are real. She left without another word. 2 weeks later, Richard Blackwood was found dead in his jail cell. The official line said he took his own life, but Danny doubted it. Guys like Blackwood don't usually kill themselves, he said. They make deals. Maybe he realized there was no offer good enough. Maybe. Or maybe someone wanted to shut him up. Linda pleaded guilty to money laundering and conspiracy charges. She received 8 years in federal prison. Her law license was revoked. Her assets were seized. She lost everything. Just like I'd lost everything when I found her in bed with Richard Blackwood. The difference was I rebuilt my life. She never would. Epilogue. 6 months later, I sold the house and moved to a small town 2 hours away. I started over with a new job, new friends, and new routines. Jake transferred to a university closer to me. His leg healed and he made the baseball team. Jessica tried to visit once. I didn't answer the door. Mike, Steve, and Paul reached out repeatedly. I blocked their numbers. Linda sent letters from prison. I returned them unopened. The truth is, I could have forgiven the affair. People make mistakes. Marriages fail. Hearts change. I could have even forgiven the loss of friends. They'd been manipulated by someone they trusted. But I couldn't forgive choosing to destroy our son to protect their secret. I couldn't forgive 22 years of lies. And I couldn't forgive everyone around me believing I was the villain in my own story. Some things are unforgivable. Some betrayals are final. Some reckonings are absolute. I kept one photo from my old life, a picture of Jake in his high school baseball uniform, smiling and innocent before he learned his mother was a criminal and his father's friends were cowards. Sometimes I look at that photo and remember what it felt like to believe in people, to trust that those you love will choose you when it matters. Mostly, I don't look back at all. The past is a country I'll never visit again. And I'm okay with that. Justice isn't always pretty, but it is final. Richard Blackwood died in jail. Linda Blackwood lost everything she valued. The friends who betrayed me lost a friendship they'll never replace. The daughter who chose sides lost a father who would have died for her. I lost a family built on lies. But I gained something more valuable. The knowledge that I'm stronger than I believed, more resilient than I imagined, and able to survive betrayals that would break lesser men. In the end, that's worth more than all the fake friendships and criminal wives in the world. I won. They lost.